May 3rd, 1980.
I wasn't.
1980. About 5:30 in the afternoon. If you were like me, you were sipping mint juleps, getting ready for the running of the Kentucky Derby. That year, Genuine Risk was attempting to become only the second filly in history to win the Kentucky Derby, but the odds were against her, 13-1. If you recall the call of the race, out of the gate, Genuine Risk at the back of the pack, going into the first turn in 7th position, around the back stretch, toward the middle of the pack, and in the final turn, here comes Genuine Risk around the outside to grab the lead and win the Kentucky Derby by 1 length. What it proved that day was never underestimate a filly. Could the 2016 Republican primary race replicate the heroics of 1980? We think they can and will. Never underestimate a filly or a woman. Why Carly? Carly's been underestimated yet overachieved throughout her career in business. From first level manager to executive officer at AT&T, leading the Lucent Technology spinoff that became at the time the largest IPO in history, and in the process created a little known fact, over 22,000 jobs in the spinoff of that company. Then finally CEO of HP, becoming the first woman ever to lead a Fortune 20 company. Along the way, she had to overcome the biases and prejudices of a male-dominated corporate world, and yet smashed the glass ceiling in business and showed women everywhere it could be done. But what about the critics? The common criticism is that Carly eliminated over 30,000 jobs at HP, and she was fired for poor performance. What's the answer to them? First of all, when Carly was hired, she was asked to transform the company. At the time, it was a company of 110,000 employees with 87 independent business units that had totally duplicate staff support functions in HR, finance, and a variety of others. Carly consolidated those 87 business units down to 12, eliminating 30,000 totally redundant jobs, which helped ensure the livelihood of another 80,000 jobs during what at the time was the dot-com bust, when a number of other companies went under at the same time. Today, the very criticism of consolidating jobs to transform our bureaucracy is what Carly has promised to do with the federal government, and reducing its size, yet avoiding layoffs because of the fact, as she pointed out at Sun City several months ago, over 250,000 federal employees will retire as baby boomers over the next 4 to 5 years. Her plan would be not to replace any one of those jobs as part of the consolidation, and thus avoid anyone having to be laid off. She's demonstrated the ability to get it done, and she can do it again. As for the board of directors' decision to fire her, a board member at the time cited at the time there was no performance issue that in any way suggested a concern for removal. Tom Perkins, who was the ringleader of the group of the board that was part of her firing, has later acknowledged she was unjustly fired. It was part of a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal, I believe it was, and had done the job she was asked to do. It was a power and control issue that a male-dominated group won out. Don't we want to transform this country from the inside out? Carly's blueprint for America has 6 basic steps that she would expect to focus on in the first term and would want to be held accountable for. First, radically simplify our tax code to 3 pages and replace the IRS. Second, pass zero-based budgeting to examine every dollar, move or cut every dollar, force those monies to be justified. Third, repeal Obamacare and promote the free market in healthcare. Fourth, stand for life and religious liberty to restore the character of our nation. Fifth, secure our borders and enforce a pro-American immigration system. And sixth, defeat ISIS and put America back in the leadership business. Why else support Carly now? Paul Ryan has advanced an agenda for the House of Representatives that will focus on reform in the terms ahead. The focus is going to be on tax reform, healthcare reform, judicial reform, and overall governmental reform to reduce size and waste. Carly represents everything Paul Ryan is advocating. Even Charles Krauthammer cited Carly in his column recently as one of only a very few Republican candidates whose conservative positions match Paul Ryan's priorities. The time is now to take advantage and leverage this unique opportunity. Also, for those of us that are devout Christians here in South Carolina, Carly has spoken sincerely and passionately about her relationship with Jesus Christ and how it got her through breast cancer and the suicide of an addicted daughter. She speaks of using prayer each morning and evening to get her through each day and be thankful for the Lord's blessings. Doesn't this sound like a person whose values we can trust and admire? In closing, when Carly was refused admittance to the ABC debate last Saturday night, she and her husband Frank decided to make it a date night. They ordered in and watched a movie, her favorite, Secretariat, about the greatest racehorse in Triple Crown history. Interestingly, there almost wasn't a Secretariat because Penny Tweedy's father died and the farm Secretariat was bred on was close to being forced to sell. Penny Tweedy, though, never gave up and raised over $2 million to syndicate Secretariat on the guarantee to each of those investing their dollars that Secretariat would win the Triple Crown. Talk about risking everything. Secretariat, the rest is history, and it's just one more example of a woman who was underestimated and exceeded all expectations. So let's never underestimate a woman. Would you agree, Wynn? Yeah. And let a conservative candidate uniquely qualified to meet today's challenges break the glass ceiling in politics and be the first Republican nominee for president in this party's history, and later to be the first female president in the 240 years since George Washington was our first. Thank you very much.